Okay, let's talk about the process of feminine maturity and the importance of a father, and how this kind of distorts the developmental cycle, and what the tendency is in these type of behaviors if they don't self-correct or become aware of it. So, in a normal nuclear family, you have two developing frameworks, two anchors for development as a female, right? You have the mother and the father. The mother is your natural modality. The father is your counterbalancing modality. So, emotional intelligence, natural emotional intelligence would be the tendency, and rational stability would be the masculine expression. I mean, both polarities are alive in both sexes. One is more prominent, one is more dominant. So, with the absence of that masculine anchor, what does that have the propensity? How does that manifest itself? And I would argue that it's a pain, it's a void in the prepubescent years, and becomes overexpressed drive towards the masculine as they reach puberty. So this is why the tendency to there's higher rates of premarital sex, so premarital birth, higher rates to get married, right? Early teenage pregnancy is common in fatherless homes, and so this is so from a female desire perspective, right? So now you want masculine attention and masculine counterbalancing. You get masculine sexual attention, right? As you get into puberty. And so the boyfriend now becomes the father proxy, right? Your modality for expression of your own, masculine balancing. You try to actually balance that through an adolescent boy. The problem with adolescent boys is you have, high rates of promiscuity, they have lack of commitment, etc. And also, if there's a strong desire in that family, if there's a compulsion towards the masculine, that can usually be a target for predatory masculines, right? So now you have a compounding intensification. So you have the lost father, so your desire for the masculine, but also the fear of losing the masculine, right? So, or you're feeling unworthy because, right, the father was not in the picture for a reason. I feel unworthy as a young female. Now you have the rejection or a consistent kind of predatory abusive behavior of the quote-unquote bad boys. Now you have a compounding reminder of the loss and the absence of the father, right? So you now have that compounding cycle that can drive you deeper into the behavior. So 700% more likely to have children as teenagers. And that's the result, right? So complete absence of the masculine. And it also affects judgment. So that can actually deepen that childhood fear of losing the masculine. And, attract towards toxic relationships and early relationships, and attract toxic people because of that need and lack. The other aspect of having a father is you now have a framework for the masculine, right? So you have an anchor yourself, so you're not worried about losing the masculine because you have your father, but you have an anchor within yourself that is your masculine, that you're not dependent on another person to provide. It is your own foundational masculine. And it's a framework. So you now have an understanding of masculine, so you can now see predatory masculine with an internal framework of the masculine. You can also, and because this internal framework of the masculine is intact, you now can see the masculine in context, right? You're not attracted to the most potent masculine that is also feminine imbalanced, right? The bad boy has potent masculinity, and if you are devoid of the masculine because the father is absent, that is the most attractive target. With the father intact, now you actually can consult him on this. He can tell a dysfunctional masculine, and you won't be as attractive because you already have your internal framework for the masculine intact. There's also a lack of compassion for men. So as this plays along, right? So as your number of partners increases over time, because again these cohorts have high promiscuity, high rate of partners, you have less and less compassion for the masculine you have, because again you love your own father as a person, right? As a child, when you have a father, you love him as a person. You see his humanity. What gets lost after so many bad boys is the humanity of partnership, which means the incapacity to pair bond, right? So after a certain number of partners, again, a series of compounding bad boys, constant dysfunction, now you have 92% more likely to get divorced. It is a combination of that failure to pair bond, because you don't have a framework for an internal masculine. You did not develop that. And because you don't have that compassion, you cannot have that humanity. It is just an energy you want to access and don't feel like you're deserving of for a long-term pair bond, a long-term convergence, a repeat of what the father relationship was, but on a deeper level, from a peer perspective, a partner perspective, as opposed to a paternal perspective. So this more likely to divorce, and most likely it is the women actually leaving. They're recreating the abandonment of the father, whether he left or was kicked out. And if you're not aware of it, you repeat history. So be careful who you connect with, and be aware of your own development.